Good morning, YouTube, and happy Tuesday. I hope you and your loved ones are well. Some big stuff has happened since I last checked in with you all. Last week, my district announced that we would be going fully virtual. The teachers, however, are allowed to come into school, so I opted to still come into school. That way the students can at least see I'm still in the classroom. Also, I feel a little bit more comfortable at school as well. So that was a big announcement, and so today and really through December 4th, we're planning on being completely virtual. I'm pretty disappointed. I have really enjoyed having the hybrid students in class with me. It's been really nice to be able to connect with them because that connection is something that I really miss. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to at least start back up hybrid maybe after, maybe after the holidays, but we're really not sure. They're trying to be very realistic about where we're going to fall, because right now we're in an area of very high activity with COVID. So I'm just hopeful that by the end of the holiday season, we'll be able to come back to school. The plan for today is to teach my classes. I still am following the hybrid schedule, even though we're not hybrid. And so that means that I have 3 of my AP classes today. I'm going to be teaching the classes during the day, and then I actually have conferences this evening. So conferences have always been in person, but obviously in light of the pandemic, they're going to be virtual this year. I wanted to show you how I plan for my conferences and how I'm kind of setting up my space to be the most effective for conferences later on this evening. Until then, I'm going to get ready for my classes today, and I'll check back in with you in a little bit. I just finished with my first AP class of the day, and so now I'm preparing for conferences this evening. Last night, I took a lot of time to comb through the data, spend some time looking at some of the important pieces of information that I think I would need to have some really valuable talking points with the parents. I only have 10-minute conferences, and so I want to really make the best use of that time. Now, the summary sheet is very similar to what I created last year. Obviously, now it'll be digital. I use a lot of the information from that previous sheet to make it virtual and more, parent-friendly, because a lot of the things that were on that original sheet don't really apply because the students aren't in the classroom with me. So one of the things that I changed was the areas of strengths and growth. So I'll show you what that looks like so you kind of get a better idea of how I've modified it based on this new normal in our classrooms. But before I do that, I made some copies of this because I do want to have a paper copy handy while I'm talking to the parents. I find it a lot easier to be looking at the paper copy as opposed to on the screen. So I'm going to prepare those, and then I'll show you how I've changed the summary sheet. This is the conference planning sheet that I created. As I mentioned, this is on a Google Slide, so I just printed this right from Google Slides. I thought it would be easier to show you here as opposed to you looking on the computer screen. But this part is reserved for academic performance. I find that math and science go together, so I usually look at the academic performance in any math class, any science class. Specific to chemistry, I focus on Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, so if those grades are available, I will put that in here. You may say, Karen, why did you go up to marking period 3? Last year, if you recall, we went out around March, and that was, I would say, towards the latter half of marking period 3. There were only about 2 weeks left in the marking period, and I felt like marking period 4 really was more like emergency education. The other thing that I check is that I want to make sure that they've met the math and the science prerequisites. So that's just really a measure of the preparedness for the course, and this is especially important if your students are honor students or AP students. This is the marking period 1 summary that I use from my class. So I'll record, for example, how many absences, what their achievement is on classwork, homework, formatives, and quizzes. Note, in my class, the only grade that numerically impacts the marking period grade are the quizzes. While it's important that the students do classwork and homework, in my district, that actually does not count numerically towards the marking period grade. In this section, this is the strengths and growth section. So I focus primarily on some of the things that I'm seeing in class. Now, obviously, it's not as much as I would see if they were physically in the room with me. So I did have to modify this list. But I think every teacher is different as far as, what they want to include and what they want to discuss. So the strength is obviously something that they're doing well, and the growth is, an area of growth. And then in the notes section, I include anything that's interesting from the data. So for example, if they have low achievement in chemistry, I also look at the math grade and I would indicate that they have low achievement in math. That would indicate, for example, that there would be low preparedness for the course. I also make comments, since we're into marking period 2 already, I'll say, we're off to a great start for marking period 2, or, there's missing assignments and the student really needs to kind of get back on track. So the notes section is just for me, and I do show this to the parents as well. If I'm talking to the parents during the conference, I'll also add some notes if needed. It gives me just some talking points and things that I can address in the conference. To set up the conferences, my district is a Google district, so we use Google time slots on our Google calendars to allow the parents to sign up. The parents would sign up via their personal email or even in their student's email. And already I've had a few conferences where the students are actually with the parents, which has really allowed me to have some really nice conversations and ask them questions like, what do you feel has helped you to be successful in the class so far? Is there anything that you feel that, I haven't been doing that would really help you? And so having the students be able to voice their opinions in front of their parents also allows more of an alliance. And I think the parents really appreciate the fact that I'm trying to listen to the students and engage the students. The majority of my conferences are where the parents want to meet with me, so they request the appointment. So usually I start out the conference by saying, do you have any questions? Is there something that you wanted to meet with me about specifically? Is there anything that I can address? Any concerns? And then the parent will usually, make some comments or questions. Some of the time I'll have parents that will say to me, honestly, I just wanted to meet you and just wanted to check in on my students' progress. And if that's the case, this sheet provides a really good overview of what to discuss. For some of the parents, I requested the conference myself. So I emailed them and said, can you give me a date and time that would work well for you? And then the parents got back to me. And so I have this sheet displayed for the parents to see when they enter the Google Meet, so that I have some talking points that we can discuss. The other thing that I have in the Google Slides presentation is I have 2 blank slides where I imported pictures of the student progress. So we use Genesis here at my high school. And so Genesis allows us to run reports of student progress, and we can look at classwork grades and homework grades and quiz grades. And I attach those to the Google Meet invitation so that the parents could merely click on it. You do want to make sure that the settings are such so that anybody on the internet with the link can view. That way, if they're not part of your organization, anybody can view it as long as they have the link. Yesterday, I had my first set of conferences. It was in the afternoon, and I think this sheet really helped to focus our conversation and allowed me to feel a little bit more prepared. I never really know why parents will ask to have a conference with me. So at times I'm kind of nervous, did something happen? Did I miss something? But more often than not, the questions are just about grading practices. What should the student take after this course? A lot of questions like that, which I can appreciate. Obviously, the parents want what's best for their kids. But yesterday I had, I think, 10 conferences. And then tonight I have 12. So I always tend to find that my nighttime conferences tend to fill up a little bit more than my daytime conferences. I know that people work, obviously during the day. So tonight my conferences go from 6 o'clock until 8:30. We go the entire time in 10-minute intervals. So it's a lot to keep track of and make sure that I'm staying on top of the time, because I don't want to cut into anybody else's time. I usually will kind of end the conference a minute early so that I have enough time to just take down some notes, catch my breath for a moment, and then go into the next conference. So that's it for me right now. I am going to finish up my conference prep, and then, like I said, I'll be back here tonight to finish my conferences. And then, of course, I'll definitely check in with you to let you know how they went. I pretty much left right after school today. I wanted to take a little bit of a break, so I went home, I put on a suit jacket, got myself a little bit of a Starbucks here, and now I'm back, and I wanted to take some time and just go through that. I have all of the student information, all the sheets that I've prepped. I want to make sure that those are all in order. I want to make sure all my invitations are ready to be sent. And then, of course, I wanted to set up my space. Now, what you're seeing behind me is actually what the parents will be seeing. So my computer is sitting right on top of my standing desk, and my chair, fortunately, it will rise up a little bit further than normal. So I'm able to make it rise up a little bit so that now I can be at eye level, and it makes it easier for the parents to have a nice background. When I'm talking to them, they can actually see what the classroom looks like. So I'll feel a lot more comfortable, I think, here as opposed to at home, because I feel like at home, that's my private space. So I'm glad that I have the opportunity to come into school and do my conferences here. So let me show you the rest of my setup, and then I'll talk to you a little bit about what else I'm doing to prepare. So this is my standing desk. This chair, as I mentioned, will rise up a little bit further. And so what's nice about the standing desk is I can actually roll it. It is on wheels, if you notice. And so what I have up here are two monitors. So on the computer monitor is where I'll put my Google Meet. That way I'm staring directly into the camera when I'm talking to the parents. And then on the monitor on the left, that's where I display the student information sheet, the summary sheet that I was talking about earlier today, so that I can present that window, but still see what's going on in the Google Meet, so that I have a little bit of an easier time trying to gauge the facial expressions of the parents and the students if the students are in fact there. Underneath there is where I have my keyboard, and I also have the paper copy of the summary sheet. And then I do have a microphone that I plug in so that the parents can hear me a little bit more easily. As far as the other prep that I'm doing, as I mentioned earlier, you have the ability to upload attachments into your Google Meet. So what I decided to do was incorporate the attachments into the Google Meet invitation so that when parents get the email, I have it set so that they have a notification that's going to be sent to them through their email 10 minutes prior to the conference. In that email, they will also get a copy of the teacher conference summary sheet. And that's something, as I mentioned, I will make reference to throughout the conference. So I'm going to just go through some of my notes, make sure I'm good to go with all my student information, and then I'm going to get started with conferences today. It starts at 6 o'clock and it goes to 8:30, so wish me luck. I'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. Good morning, YouTube. Last night, I just didn't have a chance to check in with you. My conferences ran a little bit over time and I was so exhausted. I just didn't feel like I would be able to get on here and talk about how the night went, and I needed some time to just reflect. It was a really great night. I had enriching conversations with parents. Instead of focusing on grades, we focused more on learning. It was a really awesome experience. I would probably say this was one of the better sets of conferences that I've had. There were no like angry parents or parents that weren't too happy with what I've been doing with the students. So I'm pretty happy to know that the students feel happy and that they're enjoying the classes. And so I wanted to kind of just take some time to reflect on some of the things that were said. And I always seem to forget year after year how valuable that summary sheet is. And part of the reason why I think I forget is because it takes a lot of work to prep them. I had to prepare 22 individual summary sheets, and I would say that took about probably 8 hours worth of work just to compile all the data. But the conversations that I had with the parents were just so valuable. And I was really able to make the best use of those 10 minutes by having that summary sheet. And the parents said how much they appreciated it too, and how like it really helped to make things a little bit more evident to them as far as like where the students can improve. I was just floored by, again, how awesome the conversations were and how I was able to be so specific in my recommendations and so specific in looking at the data and how to help the kids. Even though it takes a lot of work up front, the conversations that I have with the parents, the ways that I can help the kids far outweighs the amount of time and prep it takes to create these documents. It's my last day before my 4-day weekend, and I am getting ready to prepare for classes for today. But like I said, I just wanted to check in with you, and I wanted to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope that you are taking a break. This year is so draining and you really need to take care of yourself. And that's what I just keep telling myself. I know as teachers, we're just so giving and we give so much of ourselves to our kids, especially this year. It's like I'm a brand new teacher all over again, right? Reworking everything, trying to make it fit to this virtual world. So please, please take some time, relax and enjoy, and just know I am so grateful for every single one of you who watch this channel and engage with me and who support me. I really hope that you take a lot of what I talk about on my channel and use it with your kids and that you find it valuable. As always, I'm here to help and support you. So please do not hesitate to leave a comment down below if there's something that you would like me to talk about or vlog about. I'm happy to help, but I just want you to know your students are so lucky to have you. Any teacher that's going to give up their time to watch professional development on YouTube is just an amazing teacher in my book. So thank you for everything. And on behalf of your students, thank you for everything. And I want to wish you a wonderful, healthy, and happy Thanksgiving.